Hi, welcome to English Hamster. Are you learning English? Great. Here we learn through stories. They are simple and interesting. You can improve English while learning knowledge. Remember to subscribe, like and comment. Let's get started.
Have you ever wondered why some people speak English so easily while others struggle? The secret to speaking English fluently is not about memorizing grammar rules or vocabulary lists. It's about learning in a way that feels natural. Imagine how you learned your first language. You didn't memorize rules, you just listened, practiced, and spoke. The same approach works for English. In this article, I'll share with you the best way to learn English that helped me become fluent, even while living in Thailand. It's simple, fun, and can be done anywhere in the world. Whether you're just starting or have been learning for a while, this method will help you speak more confidently and naturally. So, let's dive in and discover how you can make English a part of your everyday life, just like your first language. Let's begin. Hi, my name is Jackie, and I am from Thailand. A long time ago, I had a big problem. My spoken English was not good at all. I could not speak clearly, and I had trouble saying what I wanted to. But then, I found a secret that helped me improve my English. I worked on it and became fluent while living in Thailand. The good news is that you can do the same, no matter where you are in the world. Now, let me share the most important secret with you. To speak English well, you need something called unconscious knowledge. If you want to speak English fluently, this knowledge must become automatic for you. Let me explain. Unconscious knowledge is the ability to do something without thinking about it. It's like when you ride a bike. You don't have to think about how to move the pedals, right? Your legs move by themselves. It's the same when you play an instrument. After practicing for a long time, you can play a song without focusing too hard. You don't need to think about which note to press on the guitar, for example. The movements are automatic. This is what we call unconscious knowledge. Think about how you speak your first language. Do you stop and think about grammar when you talk to someone? No, you don't. You just speak. And the sentences you say are always correct. Even though you don't think about grammar, you speak perfectly. How is that possible? It's because you have unconscious knowledge of your first language. You've been listening and speaking it for many years, and now it's automatic. So, if you want to speak English well, you need to build this kind of unconscious knowledge in English. When you do that, speaking English will feel natural, just like speaking your first language. It will be automatic. But here's the problem. It's not easy to build this unconscious knowledge. You can't learn it by studying grammar books or watching lessons on YouTube. When you study grammar, you are learning conscious knowledge. This is the kind of knowledge you have to think about. When you speak English, you have to think about which tense to use or whether you should use a or the. This kind of thinking makes speaking slower and harder. Imagine that when you speak your first language, your brain is working automatically. It doesn't need to focus on grammar. But when you study grammar too much, your brain starts to think about the rules when speaking. It becomes slower because it has to think about two things at the same time: the information you want to say and the grammar rules. That's why many people know grammar rules but still speak English slowly and with mistakes. So, the best way to learn English is not by studying rules, but by learning the language in the same way you learned your first language. This method is called unconscious learning. What does unconscious learning mean? It means that you learn without even knowing it. It's like when you listen to someone speaking in English. Your goal is not to learn grammar, but to understand the conversation. However, while you focus on understanding the information, your brain is learning grammar, new words, and more without you even realizing it. This is how you learned your first language, right? You didn't sit down and memorize grammar rules. You just listened to people and talked to them. Over time, your brain picked up the language. When you use unconscious learning, you are giving your brain the chance to automatically learn English. This is different from conscious learning, where you study and think about grammar rules. Unconscious learning helps your brain connect the dots, and soon you'll start speaking without thinking too much about grammar. Let's now talk about 2 ways to build unconscious knowledge: listening and input-driven speaking practice. These are the methods that helped me become fluent in English. Listening is one of the most popular ways to learn English. You hear a lot of people say, "Listen to English every day." But why is listening so important, especially if you want to speak better? Well, here's the thing. Even if your main goal is to speak, you still need to listen to English regularly. Why? Because English is a very complex language, and without enough listening, your brain won't be familiar with how it sounds. If you don't listen to English a lot, speaking will be confusing. You won't understand the rhythm, the intonation, or how sentences are formed. It will be harder to put words together and speak naturally. On the other hand, if you listen to English every day, your brain gets used to the language. The sounds, the words, and the sentence structures won't confuse you anymore. You'll be able to speak more easily because you understand the language better. That's why listening is so important for speaking. You need to feed your brain with English sounds and words so that when you try to speak, it's easier. So, make sure to listen to English every day. You can listen to YouTube videos, podcasts, movies, or anything else that's in English. The more you listen, the better you'll become at speaking. Now, what about reading? Should you read in English too? Of course, reading is helpful, but if you don't have a lot of time, listening is more important. When you listen, you get to practice hearing how English sounds, pronunciation, intonation, and everything else. When you watch movies or videos with English subtitles, it's like reading while listening at the same time. The best way to learn English is to enjoy what you're listening to. If you love travel, listen to travel podcasts or watch travel videos. If you like movies, watch them in English. The key is to find content that you like. If you listen to things you enjoy, you'll stay motivated, and learning English won't feel like a chore. I understand that you might be wondering, what kind of content should I listen to? The answer is simple. Listen to things that you enjoy. It's much easier to stay motivated when you like what you are listening to. For example, I personally enjoy watching videos about Japan because I love their culture and food. I also enjoy listening to scary stories, so I follow podcasts that tell ghost stories. This keeps me entertained, and at the same time, I'm learning English. It's important to focus on content that keeps you engaged. If you force yourself to listen to things that don't interest you, it can become boring and you might stop. Imagine you're in a classroom and the teacher keeps talking about a subject you don't care about. You would probably start to lose focus, right? It's the same with language learning. If you don't enjoy what you're listening to, you'll quickly lose interest. So, always pick something that excites you. One thing that I never listen to is grammar lessons. I avoid YouTube videos about tenses, prepositions, adjectives, and all those boring grammar rules. Why? Because I know that if I focus too much on grammar, I'll start thinking about it when I speak. I want to speak English naturally, just like I speak my first language. I want my brain to focus on the message, not on the grammar, and that's why I avoid grammar-heavy content. Now, let's talk about how much time you should spend listening to English every day. The simple answer is, as much as you can. If you listen to English for 30 minutes every day, you will improve. If you can listen for 10 hours a day, then great. The more input you get, the faster your brain will pick up the language. But I know that not everyone has a lot of free time. So, if you're busy, don't worry. I have a helpful tip. If you can understand English well enough, try to listen while doing other activities. For example, you can listen to a podcast while you're working out, doing house chores, or commuting. That way, you don't have to spend extra time just sitting and listening. This strategy helped me a lot because it allowed me to listen to English for at least 30 minutes a day without feeling like it was taking up my free time. Of course, there is a small rule here. Don't try to listen while you're working or studying. The activities you choose should be simple ones that don't require much thinking. For instance, you can listen while you're washing dishes or walking outside. This makes it easy to add English practice to your day without taking up too much time. But no matter how much you listen, you still need to practice speaking. You can't become fluent without practicing speaking out loud. But what if you don't have anyone to talk to? It can be tough if you don't have a conversation partner. So, what do? Some people solve this problem by talking to themselves. I did this when I first started learning English. I would talk about anything, my job, my hobbies, my day, anything that came to mind. But after a while, I stopped doing it. Why? Well, there are two main problems with talking to yourself. First, when you talk to yourself, you're not learning new words or phrases. You're just practicing what you already know. This means that you're not expanding your vocabulary. You need to learn new words if you want to improve your speaking. Second, talking to yourself doesn't fix any mistakes you might be making. If you say something incorrectly, you won't realize it. You'll just keep making the same mistakes. So, even if you get faster at speaking, your English might still sound strange or incorrect. You might speak quickly, but it won't sound like native English. So, if talking to yourself doesn't help, what can you do? One option is to find someone online to practice with, but even this has its problems. If the person you're speaking with is also learning English, they might make mistakes too. You might end up speaking with broken English, which won't help you get better. However, that doesn't mean you should never talk to other learners. It's okay to practice with them sometimes. But if you want to improve quickly, you should focus on a method called input-driven practice. Let me explain what that means. Input-driven practice is when you practice speaking with the help of real English content. This could be a podcast, a movie, a YouTube video, or anything where a native speaker is talking. The idea is that you will learn new vocabulary and correct grammar by listening to real English. This type of practice helps you speak more like a native speaker. One of the best ways to practice input-driven speaking is by imitating native speakers. You might have heard of techniques like shadowing or imitation. I prefer the imitation technique because it really helps improve your speaking. Let me show you how it works. First, find a video or an audio of a native speaker talking. It's best if the speaker is speaking clearly and not too fast. You don't need to listen to a long video. Just pick a short clip, about 3 to 5 minutes long. Listen to it first and make sure you understand everything the person is saying. If you don't know some words, look them up. Once you've listened and understood the content, start the video again. This time, repeat what the person says, word for word. You can pause the video after every few words and repeat them out loud. Try to copy everything the speaker does, from the words to the rhythm and emotion of their voice. You want to sound just like them. If you can't remember every single word, don't worry. The most important thing is to capture the overall meaning and rhythm. Sometimes, the human brain has trouble remembering exact words, but it's great at remembering the meaning of things. For example, if you hear the sentence, "I went for a long walk in the park to clear my head," and you forget the exact words, it's okay. You can still express the same idea, like, "I took a walk in the park to feel better." This helps improve your ability to express yourself in your own words, which is a skill you'll need in real conversations. When you imitate, try to pay attention to how the speaker pronounces words, their intonation, and the emotional tone. Don't just focus on the words themselves, imitate the speaker's voice and style. This will help you sound more natural when speaking. It's like learning to sing a song. You don't just repeat the lyrics, you try to sing with the same emotion and rhythm as the original singer. As you practice more, you can increase the challenge. Instead of repeating just a few words, try to memorize and repeat full sentences. It may feel hard at first, but as you practice, you'll get better. The goal is to match the speaker's rhythm and pronunciation as closely as possible. It's okay if you don't get it perfect right away. The important thing is to keep practicing and improving over time. If you come across a sentence that's too long or too difficult to remember, that's fine. Your brain might not be able to remember every detail. Instead, focus on the key idea of the sentence. If the sentence was, "After a long day at work, I like to relax by reading a book or watching TV," you can simplify it to, "I relax by reading or watching TV after work." This is an important skill because in real conversations, you'll often need to express ideas in your own way, especially when you don't remember the exact words. Imitating native speakers is a powerful way to practice, and it's flexible. You can start with shorter clips, and as your skills grow, you can try longer speeches or conversations. Over time, you'll notice that your speaking ability improves. You'll be able to speak more clearly, more confidently, and more naturally. One important point to remember is that imitation isn't just about memorizing words or sentences. It's about learning how to use the language in a natural way. By imitating native speakers, you learn how to use English in real-life situations. You understand how to stress certain words, how to pause for effect, and how to change your tone based on what you're saying. Another great thing about input-driven practice is that you can practice anywhere. You don't need a partner or a classroom. You just need to find a video, podcast, or movie with English speakers, and you can practice on your own. It's a great way to practice when you're at home, commuting, or even while doing chores. One thing that works really well for me is to listen to audiobooks. Audiobooks are great because you get to hear the entire story, and the speaker often uses different voices and emotions to make the story more exciting. Listening to audiobooks helps me improve my pronunciation, vocabulary, and understanding of sentence structures. If you can, try listening to an audiobook while following along with the text. This way, you practice both listening and reading at the same time. It's important to listen to a variety of content, too. You don't want to only listen to one type of English. Try listening to podcasts, watching movies, listening to news reports, and reading books. By exposing yourself to different types of English, you get a fuller understanding of the language. Each type of content teaches you something new, whether it's vocabulary, expressions, or different ways to use grammar. When you practice speaking, don't worry about making mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, and that's okay. The most important thing is to keep practicing. The more you practice, the better you'll become. Over time, you'll find that you're able to speak more smoothly, and the words will come to you more easily. Remember, language learning is a journey, not a race. It's okay to take your time. Don't try to rush through your learning process. Focus on progress, not perfection. If you keep practicing every day, you will improve over time. Even if you make mistakes, you'll learn from them and you'll continue to grow. If you don't have a speaking partner, another great option is to record yourself speaking. You can listen to your recordings to see where you need to improve. It's a helpful way to track your progress and fix any mistakes you might be making. Recording yourself can also help you get used to speaking out loud and build your confidence. Lastly, don't forget to have fun. Learning English should be enjoyable. The more you enjoy it, the more motivated you'll be to continue practicing. Whether you're watching movies, listening to podcasts, or reading books, make sure you enjoy the process. If you're having fun, learning English won't feel like a chore. Instead, it will feel like something you can't wait to do every day. In addition to all of these methods, it's also important to practice speaking with real people when you can. While input-driven practice is incredibly helpful, there's nothing quite like having a real conversation. Speaking with someone who is fluent in English can help you improve your speaking in ways that self-practice and listening alone cannot. If you don't live in an English-speaking country, it might seem hard to find native speakers to practice with. But thanks to the internet, there are many ways to connect with people who speak English. There are language exchange websites where you can find people who are willing to help you with your English while you help them with their language. This is a great way to practice speaking and make friends at the same time. Another option is to use language learning apps that connect you with English speakers. Many of these apps allow you to talk to people through text or voice calls. It's a great way to practice speaking in real conversations and learn new phrases that you might not hear in textbooks or podcasts. When you do get the chance to speak with a native English speaker, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Native speakers understand that you are learning, and they are usually happy to help. Plus, making mistakes is part of the learning process. It's how you improve. Every mistake is a chance to learn something new, so don't shy away from speaking just because you're worried about making errors. When you have conversations with native speakers, try to focus on learning new expressions, vocabulary, and ways to phrase things. For example, you might hear a sentence like, "It's raining cats and dogs," which means it's raining heavily. This is an idiom, and you probably won't find it in a grammar book. It's important to listen for these types of expressions because they will help you sound more natural when you speak English. Over time, you will start to understand more and more of these expressions and incorporate them into your own speech. One great tip is to listen to how people structure their sentences. Native speakers often speak in a very relaxed and natural way, and by listening carefully, you can learn how to organize your thoughts more smoothly. You might notice that they leave out words that are unnecessary, or they use contractions like gonna instead of going to. These are the little things that will make your speech sound more like a native speaker's. It's also helpful to focus on the rhythm and melody of the language. English has a very specific rhythm, and native speakers often stress certain words in a sentence to give it meaning. For example, in the sentence, "I didn't say he stole the money," the meaning changes depending on which word is stressed. If you say, "I didn't say he stole the money," it means you didn't say it at all. If you stress he, it means that someone else may have stolen the money, but not him. By listening to how native speakers stress different words, you can learn how to communicate more clearly and effectively. Another important aspect of learning a language is being patient with yourself. Sometimes, you might feel frustrated because it feels like you're not improving fast enough. That's normal. Language learning is a long journey, and it's easy to get discouraged. But remember, the key is to keep practicing, even when it feels difficult. The more consistent you are with your practice, the better you'll get over time. One thing that helped me a lot was setting small, achievable goals. Instead of focusing on becoming fluent right away, I set goals like, "I will listen to English for 30 minutes every day," or "I will learn 10 new words this week." These small goals helped me stay motivated because I could see my progress, and they made the learning process feel more manageable. You can try setting similar goals for yourself, whether it's practicing speaking for 10 minutes each day or learning 5 new phrases. Remember, language learning is not a race. It's about enjoying the process and making steady progress. Some days, you will feel like you're not improving at all, and other days, you'll feel like you've learned a lot. Both experiences are normal. The important thing is to keep going and not give up. One more thing to remember is that it's okay to take breaks. Sometimes, if you push yourself too hard, you might burn out. If you feel like you need a rest, take a break and come back when you're ready. It's important to enjoy the process, so don't make it feel like a chore. The most important message I want to share with you is this: keep practicing and don't give up. Every day you spend listening, speaking, and learning English is a step closer to fluency. The more you practice, the more automatic your language skills will become. Soon enough, speaking English will feel just as natural as speaking your first language. As you continue on your language learning journey, try to remember the importance of consistency. One of the most powerful tools you have in your learning process is your ability to stay dedicated. It's easy to let distractions take over or lose motivation, but if you make learning a part of your daily routine, it will become second nature. Just like brushing your teeth every day, learning English should become a habit that doesn't feel like an extra task, but rather a natural part of your life. The more consistent you are with your practice, the faster you will see improvements. Even if you only have 10 or 15 minutes a day, that time adds up over the weeks and months. This is especially true when you combine listening, speaking, and imitation techniques. Each little step you take brings you closer to fluency. One mistake that many people make is that they expect to see quick results. Language learning isn't like flipping a switch. It takes time, and the improvements are often gradual. That's why it's important to focus on the process rather than the end result. If you try to rush your progress, you might become discouraged when you don't see instant success. Instead, enjoy the journey. Celebrate small wins along the way, like understanding a new word or being able to say something without thinking about it too much. Another important aspect of language learning is to surround yourself with English as much as possible. This doesn't mean you have to be immersed in an English-speaking country, although that can help. Instead, create an English-speaking environment wherever you are. Change the language on your phone or computer to English, watch TV shows or movies in English, and listen to music or podcasts in English. The more you surround yourself with English, the easier it will become to learn. You can also try to find a language partner to practice with. This could be a friend, a colleague, or even someone you meet online. Practicing with another person helps you improve your speaking skills and gives you the opportunity to hear how others speak. It's important to remember that language learning is not a solitary activity. While listening and studying on your own are important, practicing with others will give you real-world experience that you can't get from books or lessons alone. When you practice with a language partner, try to use the language in real-life situations. Don't just focus on memorizing grammar rules or perfecting vocabulary. Instead, try to have conversations about topics that interest you. Whether it's talking about your hobbies, your favorite books, or your dreams for the future, speaking about things you care about will make the process much more enjoyable. This will also help you learn vocabulary and phrases that are relevant to your life, making it easier to remember and use them in real situations. A great way to practice speaking is through storytelling. Try telling a story in English, whether it's a real event from your life or an imaginary story. Storytelling is a powerful way to practice because it helps you put together ideas and communicate them clearly. It also helps with fluency and vocabulary because you'll need to think on your feet and use words you've learned. Plus, storytelling is fun and it helps make English more enjoyable to practice. As you continue practicing, don't be afraid to experiment with the language. English is a rich and flexible language, and there are often multiple ways to express the same idea. The more you experiment, the more you'll learn about how the language works. You might try different sentence structures, word choices, or ways to express emotions. This is normal, and it's part of the learning process. The more you play with the language, the more confident you'll become. It's also important to reflect on your progress every so often. Take some time to look back at where you started and compare it to where you are now. You'll likely be surprised by how much you've improved. It's easy to forget how far you've come when you're focused on what's still left to learn. But by taking a step back and looking at your journey, you'll see that every bit of practice has made a difference. If you're ever feeling stuck or frustrated, try to remind yourself of the progress you've made. You've already taken the most important step by starting your language learning journey. That's something to be proud of. Keep pushing forward and remember that language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. Finally, be kind to yourself. Language learning can be challenging, and it's normal to feel overwhelmed at times. But it's also an exciting and rewarding experience. The key is to enjoy the process, stay consistent, and keep practicing. Over time, you'll find that speaking English becomes easier and more natural. The road to fluency is filled with ups and downs, but every step you take brings you closer to your goal. If you stay focused, keep practicing, and never give up, you will achieve your dream of speaking fluent English. Remember that you're not alone on this journey. Millions of people around the world are learning English every day, and you can be one of them. So go ahead, take the next step, and keep moving forward. Your fluency is just around the corner. As you continue to practice English, it's important to embrace the idea of learning by doing. This concept means that instead of waiting until you feel ready to speak perfectly, you start speaking now, even if it's not perfect. When you start speaking from day one, You begin building confidence and fluency more quickly than if you wait until you feel like everything is perfect. One way to practice speaking is by repeating phrases or sentences that you hear from native speakers. This is called shadowing. You don't need to understand every single word or phrase at first. Just try to repeat what you hear. This is an excellent way to improve your pronunciation and rhythm. Over time, you'll start to recognize patterns in the language, and your speaking will become smoother and more natural. Shadowing also helps with fluency. When you listen to a speaker and immediately repeat their words, you're training your brain to process the language faster. This will help you when you're having real conversations because you'll be able to think on your feet and respond more quickly. Don't worry about making mistakes. This is part of the learning process. What's important is that you're practicing and getting better every day. Another powerful way to practice is by telling yourself stories in English. You don't need to have a conversation partner to do this. You can practice speaking by simply describing your day or telling a short story out loud. This helps you practice forming sentences and using new vocabulary. For example, you can start by saying, "Today, I went to the store. I bought some fruit and vegetables, and then I met a friend for coffee." As you get better, you can make the story more complex by adding details and using new words. Storytelling also helps you improve your ability to think in English. When you talk about your day or tell a story, your brain starts to connect ideas in English without translating from your native language. This will help you become more fluent because you won't need to think about what to say in your first language first. You'll just say it in English. The great thing about storytelling is that it can be fun, too. You can make up imaginary stories or even tell jokes in English. This makes language learning more enjoyable and keeps you motivated. Plus, it helps you become more comfortable with speaking and using English in different situations. One mistake many learners make is focusing too much on grammar. Grammar is important, but it shouldn't be the main focus of your speaking practice. You don't need to be perfect when you speak, especially in the beginning. The goal is to communicate your ideas, not to speak with perfect grammar every time. In fact, many native speakers don't always use perfect grammar in casual conversations. So, don't worry about making small mistakes. Just focus on getting your message across and improving your fluency. You can also practice speaking by reading out loud. Pick a book, an article, or even a script from a movie or TV show and read it out loud in English. This helps you practice pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. As you read, pay attention to how the sentences flow. Try to sound natural, like a native speaker. Don't just read the words, think about how the sentence sounds and how you can match the tone and rhythm. One of the best ways to practice reading out loud is by using dialogue from movies or TV shows. Choose a scene where the characters speak slowly and clearly and try to mimic their speech. This helps you get used to the pace and natural flow of spoken English. Plus, it's fun to practice with scenes from your favorite movies or shows. If you're serious about improving your speaking skills, consider recording yourself speaking. This might feel a little strange at first, but it's a great way to track your progress. When you listen to the recording, you can identify areas where you can improve, such as pronunciation, sentence structure, or vocabulary. Over time, you'll notice that your recordings sound more natural and fluent. Recording yourself also helps you build confidence because you'll see how much you've improved. It's important to remember that everyone makes mistakes when learning a new language, and that's okay. The key is to keep practicing and learn from those mistakes. Each mistake is a chance to improve. If you make an error while speaking, don't stop or get discouraged. Just keep going and focus on getting better the next time. Learning English isn't just about the big moments, like giving a perfect speech or acing a test. It's about the small, everyday moments. It's about talking to a friend, ordering food in English, or having a simple conversation with someone. The more you use English in real situations, the more confident and fluent you will become. Another great way to practice speaking is by using language apps. Many apps allow you to practice speaking by recording your voice and comparing it to a native speaker's pronunciation. This is a great way to improve your accent and pronunciation. Some apps also have exercises that help you practice specific phrases and vocabulary, which can be really helpful when you're trying to expand your language skills. As you continue practicing, make sure to set realistic goals for yourself. You might want to aim to have a 5-minute conversation in English or to learn 10 new phrases each week. Setting small goals helps you stay motivated and track your progress. When you achieve a goal, take a moment to celebrate your success. Don't forget to reward yourself for your hard work. Learning a language takes time and effort, so it's important to recognize your achievements. Whether it's treating yourself to something you enjoy or simply taking a break, make sure to celebrate the progress you've made. Finally, let's talk about maintaining your motivation throughout your English learning journey. Staying motivated can be one of the biggest challenges, but it's also one of the most important factors in achieving fluency. Motivation keeps you going, especially on the tough days when you feel like you're not improving as quickly as you'd like. To stay motivated, it's helpful to set clear and meaningful goals. Think about why you want to learn English in the first place. Is it to travel, to advance your career, to meet new people? Whatever your reason is, remind yourself of it every day. Keep your goals in mind and make sure they're something that truly excites you. When your goal is something that you're passionate about, it's much easier to stay motivated. In addition to setting big goals, try breaking them down into smaller, more manageable tasks. For example, if your big goal is to speak fluent English, you can set smaller goals like, I will practice speaking for 10 minutes every day, or I will learn 5 new words this week. These smaller goals are easier to achieve and give you a sense of accomplishment along the way. When you achieve them, it boosts your confidence and motivation to keep going. Another way to stay motivated is by tracking your progress. Sometimes it can be hard to see how much you've improved, especially if you're learning every day. But if you take the time to track your progress, you'll be amazed at how much you've accomplished. Keep a language journal or a list of new words you've learned. Record yourself speaking and listen to it after a few weeks to hear how much better you sound. Seeing your progress will remind you that your hard work is paying off. It's also helpful to surround yourself with people who support your goals. Find friends, family members, or fellow learners who encourage you to keep practicing. If you have people around you who believe in your ability to learn English, it will motivate you to keep going. You can also join language learning communities online. These communities are full of people who are on the same journey as you, and they can provide support, tips, and inspiration when you need it. Sometimes, you might hit a plateau in your learning. This is completely normal and happens to every language learner. When this happens, it's important to stay patient and persistent. The key is to keep practicing even if you don't feel like you're making progress. Remember, language learning is a long-term journey, and improvement can be slow at times. But every little bit counts, and eventually, you'll break through the plateau and start to see progress again. One of the best ways to overcome a plateau is to change things up in your learning routine. If you've been focusing on listening, try practicing speaking more. If you've been reading a lot, try writing or having conversations in English. By switching things up, you keep things fresh and exciting, and you also keep your brain engaged in different ways. Another tip for staying motivated is to celebrate your small wins. Learning a language is a long process, and sometimes the progress is slow. But every time you learn a new word or have a conversation in English, celebrate it. Reward yourself for your hard work, whether it's by treating yourself to something small or simply acknowledging your success. These little celebrations can help you stay motivated and remind you that you're on the right path. The most important thing is to enjoy the process. If you approach language learning as something fun and exciting, you'll be more likely to stick with it. Try to find ways to make learning English enjoyable. Whether it's watching your favorite movie in English, chatting with a friend, or reading a book, find ways to make English part of your everyday life. When you enjoy the process, learning feels less like a chore and more like a rewarding experience. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. Millions of people around the world are learning English, and many of them are facing the same challenges as you. Don't be afraid to reach out to others for support. Share your struggles and successes with people who understand, and you'll find that learning English can be a lot more enjoyable when you're part of a community. As you continue your English learning journey, keep in mind that there's no perfect time to become fluent. Fluency is a process that takes time, effort, and dedication. The more you practice, the more fluent you'll become, but it's important to enjoy the journey and not rush the process. The key is to stay consistent, be patient with yourself, and embrace every small victory along the way. Learning English will open up many new opportunities for you, whether it's connecting with people from around the world, advancing your career, or simply experiencing the world in a new way. Keep pushing forward, keep practicing, and remember that you have the power to achieve fluency. Stay motivated, stay positive, and most importantly, stay dedicated. Your journey to becoming fluent in English is not just about the destination, it's about enjoying every step along the way.
Hey, if you learned something new today, please give this video a like. Write your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second and it really helps to create more English videos for you. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.